Good evening. I want to welcome you and call to order this meeting of the Floresville ISD Board of Trustees for this date, March 7th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Let the record show that there is a quorum of board members present, myself, Joel Odom, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Sabota, Ms. Reed, Mr. Shadrock, and Mr. Fleer. Furthermore, let me record that this meeting has been duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Let's stand together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for your mercy, your forgiveness, and your love that's always shown to us. And Father, we thank you for this school board and this school district. Father, for the ones who lead us and guide us and direct us, we're grateful for. Father, we pray that you will bless our students, bless our staff, bless our teachers, our administrators. Father, we pray that you'll give us wisdom and guidance and direction in every decision that we make. And Lord, we're grateful, so grateful for allowing us to be part of a great school district. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Ms. Reed, would you please recite our vision and mission statement?
The FISD vision statement is preparing you for a prosperous life, character, knowledge, and confidence. Our mission statement is FISD is committed to developing 21st century graduates which are lifelong learners that are purposeful, innovative, collaborative, and possess character traits that lead to success.
And Mr. Shadrock?
The FISD goals are: each student will maximize their potential, each student will be a lifelong learner prepared for their future, each student will be a contributing member of the global society, FISD will strive to build strong relationships with stakeholders, and FISD will exercise fiscal responsibility.
Our FISD core beliefs are: we believe that each individual is unique.
We believe character values are the building blocks of a prosperous life.
We believe in a strong work ethic.
We believe mutual respect is the foundation for a safe and nurturing environment.
We believe that helping one another strengthens our community.
We believe education is a shared responsibility throughout the community.
We believe effective communication is vital to success.
We believe that lifelong learning cultivates personal growth.
We believe that everyone deserves access to a quality education.
We believe that in failure there is an opportunity for growth.
Ms. Martinez?
Each month we highlight one of the good governance indicators and code of ethics that the FISD Board of Trustees follow to promote the best interests of the district as a whole. This month for the code of ethics we are highlighting integrity of character. I will refuse to surrender judgment to any individual or group at the expense of the district as a whole. I will consistently uphold all applicable laws, rules, policies, and governance procedures. I will not disclose information that is confidential by law or that will needlessly harm the district if disclosed. Our good governance indicator for this month is the board has a code of ethics for itself and promotes ethical behavior in the governance structure throughout the organization and in interactions with workforce, vendors, and stakeholders.
All right, we go to agenda number 2, recognitions and presentations. And Ms. Gonzalez, would you please come and recognize our students of the month?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure again for me to present our students in the month for the month of March. I'm going to start out first with our student of the month is Samara Bellino, or Sam, as everyone knows her. She's the 18-year-old daughter of Angela Bellino. She's in the top half of her class with an overall GPA of 3.9. Sam is very active on campus, serving as a member of the National Honor Society and in Skills USA. Recently at the Skills USA Health Science Technology Competition, Sam received the Silver Award for Basic Health Care and has qualified for state competition. Sam is also a member of the varsity volleyball team and varsity softball team, and she also played 3 years with the Jaguar basketball team. Sam has received numerous awards such as A Honor Roll, Outstanding Student for On-Ramps Physics, and Outstanding Student in English 3. In athletics, Sam was named Academic All-District in basketball and softball in 2020-2021. Sam is known as someone that teachers can depend on to help set up. She's helped set up, hang signs, run errands, etc. for school events such as the Jaguar Classic Volleyball Tournament, the Barbara Harvey Jaguar Basketball Classic, and the Jack Randall Track Meet. Outside of school, Sam has volunteered her time by hanging peanuts for the Peanut Festival. She's also a member of the Southwest Texas Girl Scouts, where she received a silver award for her service hours. I remember buying cookies from her too. Even with her busy schedule and her part-time job at Walmart, Sam has earned 19 hours of college credit through Coastal Bend. Sam plans to attend the University of Incarnate Word, where she intends to major in nursing. So ladies and gentlemen, Samara Bellino. Our next student of the month for March is Brian Garcia. Brian Garcia is the 18-year-old son of Max and Adrian Flores. He is in the top 10 of his class with an overall GPA of 4.0. Brian is very active on the campus, serving as a member of the National Honor Society, a student council officer, link crew, and a member of FFA. Brian is also a member of the varsity tennis team and participates in the Gifted and Talented program. Brian has received academic awards such as A Honor Roll all 4 years of high school. As a member of the FFA, Brian has competed for the organization as part of the team that placed second in district in FFA Ag Advocacy, first in area, and third place in state. Also in 2019, Brian placed second in tennis mixed doubles. Brian volunteers his time with the Student Council Blood Drive, hanging peanuts for the Peanut Festival, and also does caroling at nursing homes. With his busy school schedule and his part-time job as a barista at Starbucks, Brian has earned 30 college credits through Coastal Bend. Brian plans to attend Texas A&M University, where he tends to major in biomedical sciences. So ladies and gentlemen, Brian Garcia.
We want to congratulate you for your efforts. Both of you have accomplished a lot as part of a team and individually, and I think it's great that you're learning these skills, you're learning how to adapt, and you're learning skills right now that are going to stay with you long after you've left Floresville High School. And we're very proud of you, and we hope that when you're done with your school and your secondary career after high school, that you return to Floresville and share your gifts with us. Congratulations on a job well done.
All right, you gotta come up here and take a picture.
Brian, just scoot that way, just a touch. And Sandy, that way, just a touch. And Mr. Shadrock, there. Miss Reed, go this way. It's a little weird back there. I'm trying to get some space. Okay. Okay. And thank you. Perfect. And 1, 2, 3. All finished.
I know, yes, I know, good work. 30 hours, that's right, now you should. Yes.
That's all year.
Thank you. Congratulations.
2B, we are going to introduce the Community of Character Award. Kathy Silva and Angela Garcia will do that.
Good
Character Award. Catherine is a first grade teacher at Floresville South Elementary. Like all of us, Catherine has a birthday that comes every year, but unlike most of us, Kathy uses her birthday to give rather than to receive. You may or may not know that on elementary teacher's birthday, it's more like Christmas, with gifts piling up on the teacher's desk. But for the last 6 years, Kathy has asked her students and families to skip giving gifts. She has asked for them to instead donate to the Children's Alliance of South Texas. CAST is a nonprofit organization that provides support and services to children who have suffered abuse. Over the years, Kathy, her students, and her families have donated books, toys, snacks, and more to CAST. When you ask Kathy why she does this, she says she just wants to know that wants students to know how good it can feel to give rather than to receive. We are so fortunate to have Kathy as a role model to our students at Floresville South. Not only is she helping children who need it the most, but she is also teaching an incredible lesson about how to give generously to strengthen our community. So here's Kathy Silva.
Ms. Silva, on behalf of the board, I'd like to say thank you from the board. It's awesome having a teacher such as yourself, but as a parent, you have teaching those kids what you're doing, instilling that. It's not only coming from parents, it's coming from you. And to do that, that means so much to all of us. I'm proud that you're working for the district and spreading that to our kiddos. It's awesome. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. We got it all worked out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, one more.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. She was my teacher.
Yours too.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to me. Thank you.
Everybody.
All right, at this time, if some of you would like to leave, we're getting to the exciting part of our meeting. Unless you want to stay, and you're welcome to. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Congratulations to y'all too. Awesome.
Thank you.
Let the record show that Ms. Perlinga arrived at 6:43.
Do I need to read anything?
Just in case you need.
Thank you. Who's are these?
I keep an extra pair.
Smart.
I might be sorry.
Flash was private, but that'll work.
Agenda item number 3, public comment. The board encourages comments about the district from members of the public. Anyone who has signed up to speak in advance of the meeting in accordance with the board procedures may do so at this time. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to district business and be no longer than 2 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. So, yes, in addition, the board has adopted policies to provide prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns for employees, students, or their parents, and the general public. Copies of our district policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available at www.fisd.us. At this time, I'd like to recognize Ms. Nuss. All right. And now Mr. Windhorst. And again, you have 2 minutes, Mr. Windhorst, and Ms. Petrie will start the time when you begin.
Yes, how you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing okay. My name's Travis Windhurst. I'm new to the Floresville area. I've been living here for about a year. I opened up a jiu-jitsu academy about a year ago, just right across the street from the high school. I also have a business in San Antonio, the same thing. We have a jiu-jitsu academy. We started it to change lives, empower young men and women to do better, be better, very result driven. I look around the Floresville area and I see a lot of kids in junior football, basketball, baseball, and they transition over really well into the high school area. But looking at our jiu-jitsu, we don't have anything like that in the high school area. We do have wrestling, which is grappling. It's all the same thing. That's what I'm here to talk about today. I think there's a need for it in Floresville. I have over 100 signatures on a petition right here for people that would like to see something like that. Lavernia opened one up a year ago. It's doing really well. There's some ways to drive down cost if that's a problem. We have a 2,000 square foot mat space across the street from the high school that you guys could utilize. We have coaches available. We're available for that. We're very excited. We'd love to be part of it. We also have shown that the studies can drive bullying down in high schools by having wrestling programs, right? So I feel like there's a lot of good that could come out of this. I don't want to take up too much of your time today, but I'd really love it if you guys could look into this. And if I could, can I leave this petition? Can I read that?
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. You can leave that over there, Mr. Schroll.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are reports and updates. Mr. Gilstrap, Superintendent report.
Board members, my report's a little bit shorter because we do have two others that we need to get to this evening. So just to go over a few things as briefly as possible, but make sure you're aware of those. As we have in the past, the district will operate on alternative hours throughout the summer. We will maintain office hours Monday through Thursday from 8 to 4:30, and we'll be closed on Fridays. However, all employees will work 4 10-hour days for a total of 40 hours a week. This schedule will begin on Tuesday, May 31st and run through Friday, July 29th. We'll return to regular operation hours on Monday, August 1st. Also, the district will be closed in recognition of Independence Day on Monday, July the 4th, but we'll be open for the rest of that week. That's a little bit of a change. In the past, we've been closed for that week. We want to give our employees an opportunity, especially if you're trying to hire people. You're not off, you're trying to fill positions, and so we want to recognize that. We are in the process of developing a schedule for in-service in August prior to school starting. Time will be provided for teachers to work in their classrooms as well as receiving professional development. We will have convocation on the morning of Friday, August the 12th. I do not have those details yet, but we will have a convocation speaker. I do want to invite the board, so I will give you some reminders between now and then, but jot that down on your calendar if you'd like to attend. We'd love to have you. That'll be on Friday, August the 12th. Betty Burks, as we have talked about in the past, she has completed her focus groups with students, teachers, and parents, community members. She's finalizing the executive summary, which I will provide to the board. I did not attend all of those meetings in order to create an open and honest feedback and communication sessions, but I do look forward to reading her thoughts on how that went as she was able to converse with some of our community members, parents, staff, students about their thoughts on the district and the culture of the district, where we're going to springboard into the future. Which leads me to the next one, which is tomorrow I'll be meeting with Greg Gibson with Mo Casey. He will be facilitating our larger groups as we start to look at the district's mission, vision, and goals throughout the school year and into the summer. There will be opportunities for board to participate in this process. It may be through some extended regular board meetings or special workshops. I don't have those details. I'll have those a little more information about that tomorrow. With the number of new individuals in leadership positions, including the board and around the district, over the past 3 years, I feel it's important for us to revisit all these items. It's an opportunity to make sure we're on the right path. The Finance Subcommittee will meet on Monday, March the 21st at 6 o'clock. This is a subcommittee meeting. It's not a called meeting. The committee will review ESSER update, which will be provided to the board in April, the whole board. We'll also review the current fiscal year 22 budget, including the effect ADA may be having on it. As you know, our ADA is a little bit down. Finally, the committee will begin prioritizing the fiscal 23 budget. So we're going to start looking at next year and start prioritizing some of those bigger items. Beginning April 1st, the board has designated the superintendent authority to approve contracts. Therefore, there will not be board action in April, May, June, or July and August regarding employment. However, you will be kept in the loop, and we will be giving you all these updates as we offer those. This really gives us, the district, a better opportunity to be competitive in the hectic, fast-paced hiring season. We don't want to put somebody on hold while we wait for a board meeting so that we can offer a contract. So it really helps us to be a little more competitive. As we discussed in the past, our dual language program has been under review. We've been struggling with certified staff in that area. So throughout this review process, teachers, administrators, parents have been involved. What we will be doing next year is we will be maintaining a two-way program, which will be our English speakers as well as our other language speakers. So we will maintain at both campuses, but there will be some adjustments to the instructional model, which will require fewer certified bilingual teachers. Dr. Wade will be meeting with the dual language staff this week to roll out some of the details regarding that program, but just wanted to reinforce to the board that overall it's going to stay the same. It's going to still be a two-way program, and it's going to be at both campuses, but how we instruct in the classroom is going to change a little bit. There was some information in the most recent board brief that Dr. Wade included in there, so you can look at that for some more detail.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gilstrap.
Not quite.
And not quite doctor, almost, he's getting there. All right. Next, we'll hear from the blended learning report, Denise Knight.
Good evening, President Odom, School Board, Mr. Gilstrap. Thank you for having me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Knight. I'm the district's digital learning specialist / blended learning project manager. And I appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight to give you a quick update on our blended learning project. Okay. So the FISD strategic plan, as you know, calls for the implementation of student-centered instructional models for instruction. Blended learning is an approach to that type of teaching because it places the teacher in the role of a facilitator in the classroom, focuses on the student's interests, abilities, and learning styles while offering personalized instruction, provides the student with ownership, agency, and choice in their learning, and provides authentic and relevant learning experiences. So it fits nicely with our strategic plan and our movement towards student-centered instructional models. A lot of people think that digital learning is all about technology, but it's really not. It's a combination of the very best of face-to-face teaching with integrating technology and really leveraging the technology so that we can provide an integrated learning experience that provides students with some control over their time, place, path, and pace of their learning. So it's not just about the technology. By implementing blended learning, we are providing students the opportunity to learn at their own pace, to learn to mastery wherever they are when they're coming into the classroom, and to learn the best way anytime and anywhere. Teachers are able to provide more one-on-one instruction and small group instruction to drive learning, address the different learning styles, approaches, and attention spans in the classroom, while also adjusting for instruction for individual gaps and gifts. So where we are today, in 2019, FISD received a blended learning planning grant from TEA for $125,000. The following year, we received an execution grant for $100,000. And then this year, we received a grant from Raise Your Hand Texas called Raising Blended Learners for $300,000 over a 3-year period. That money is going to be used, has been and will be used for adaptive software, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but software that it hits the kids at their individual skill level and what they're needing to work on. Data binders, so the kids can track their own data. Site visits, right now we're kind of limited because of COVID, but as soon as that opens up a little bit more, we're providing opportunities for teachers and administrators to go visit sites. Training and professional development for our teachers to build their capacity. Consultants, we've worked with one group of consultants for planning and year 1 implementation, and then we also had consultants that have spent 3 days with us in the past 2 weeks working on our instructional model design. And then finally, a portion of my salary does come out of that, those 2 grants as well. We initially launched last year with COVID. It was kind of what we call a soft launch, We launched because we saw the need for it, because it was a great way to close the gaps that were created by COVID, but we knew we couldn't hit it full force, so we kind of did a slow, gradual launch of it. We focused on reading an ELA. We're one of the fewest in this state that focused on reading an ELA. It's a lot more common to find it in math, but our need was in reading. We started in grades 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9. With the TEA grant last year, we were one of only a handful doing middle school. We were the only ones doing it at the high school level. They even said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And we said, "Yes, we don't want to just give up on those kids. They deserve an opportunity too." So we were the only ones doing the high school level. And again, we've been focusing on reading achievement through student-centered instruction. This year, we went ahead and added first grade, and we've been a lot more focused and a lot more driven in how we're doing that. Blended learning focuses on 5 pillars. So when we talk to teachers, we talk about 5 basic areas. And I'm going to quickly run through them for you tonight. But it's assessment and data-driven instruction, personalized instruction, student agency, relationships, and rigor. In assessment and data-driven instruction, our kids and our students own the data. It's not just the teachers knowing how the students are performing, but the students are actually tracking, even as low as first grade. You can see they're tracking, what letters do I know? What sounds do I know? How's my reading levels? And then based on that, we're able to guide instruction.
It's a Google Sheets form.
She's talking about our
There's different teaks that he has lined up, and each teak is explained, and it tells us every test. He tells us how well we did. So it tells us if we got 100 on the teak, we put 100 in the grade book, and then depending on how many questions there were, is what fraction we get. So 75 if you missed 1 out of 4, or like a 50 or a 0, depending on how well you did on each teak.
And what is the purpose of that? Why do y'all do that?
To tell you what teaks you need to practice on for the STAR test, over which ones are more heavily tested than the others.
Do you think that's beneficial?
I think it is. I think it really tells you what parts of the reading process you really need to work on, whether it's inferencing or the finding clues in the story or stuff like that.
So we're really drilling down from a student made a 90 on a test to finding out why did they make that 90. What on that test did they know? What did they not know? And what did the student next to them know and not know? And so now we can really tailor instruction based on that data. And the kids know that, and they can articulate that. Even into first grade, when you go in there, they can tell you what it is they're working on. The second piece, or the second pillar, is our personalized instruction. Again, focusing on those individual skills. One of the ways we do that is through our adaptive softwares. The students at the beginning of the year take, it's an assessment portion of the program. It goes in, they take it, and it figures out exactly where they fall. I'm a 7th grader, but am I on 7th grade level? And it figures out where their placement is, and then they're able to work throughout the year on the skills that they need to work on the most.
Yes, so let's take this circle. Let's start right there with our beginning sounds. When you go back to the test, I want you to click on that one, and I want you to see maybe today, do you think maybe your goal could be 2 units? Do you think you can get that done? So you can get 1, 2 of those colored in? Yes? All right, well, let's see if we can get that part done, okay?
So the students know what they need to learn and why. When you look at our Lexia Core 5 data, that's for our elementary grades. It focuses on the foundational skills of reading, so a lot of your phonics and phonemes. And it rates them as in grade level, below grade level, or above grade level. And you can see where we've started and where we've gone. You'll notice we've had growth across the board. What we have found is the more the students are in it, the more growth they see. It's also adaptive in the amount of time. So your lower level students who are struggling more, need to spend more time in the program to see the benefits of it, because it goes back and teaches those skills that they may be missing from kindergarten, or from the lower grades if they're in 3rd or 4th grade. Okay. When we go into middle school, we're still using Lexia, but it changes a little bit, and it breaks it up into 3 strands. And it breaks it into word study, grammar, and comprehension. In each of those 3 areas, it then tells them, are they at foundational level, which is basically elementary level? Are they at intermediate, which is your middle school, or are they at advanced, which is your high school level? This slide does not show all growth in those programs because it gets really convoluted and hard to follow. But what this does show you is that, for example, in 6th grade, 27% of our students moved from one section, so they may have been in foundational or intermediate, they moved up an entire level. So these are the ones that actually saw enough growth to move from one level to the other, while others would have seen growth. So again, we're seeing growth because we are purposefully giving them the instruction they need. At the high school, we have yet a different program for the high school. We specifically, in coordination with the teachers, picked which software we were going to use at each campus. You're going to see a lot of red and oranges on this. This does not mean that our high school kids cannot read. What this program looks at is how efficient are they at reading? How fast do they read? How closely do they read? What's their stamina? A lot of kids don't have stamina. It tracks their eye movement across the page. So how good of a reader they are. Not that they can't read, but how good of a reader they are. And so even there too, this was first term. So you can see that from the beginning, benchmark 1 was in August and benchmark 3 was in January. So you can still see there that they were showing growth over time. Student agency, which is our next pillar, refers to the amount of control that the student has. One of the things that we heard in our instructional design meetings last week was that students want to have more say and more control in their day. I want to control what I'm learning or how I'm learning. So student agency is an attempt to do that. So the third picture at the top is actually a choice board from our 1st grade classroom, where the 1st graders are given options on which one do you want to do today. So we're really trying to give them more control. They're still learning, but we're giving them some more options.
All right, guys, what are y'all working on right now in class?
I'm working on
You're working on digraphs?
I'm working on
First letter of words? How do you know what to do? Tell me what you're doing with that.
If I don't know it, I just sound it out and I just write it on here.
You're sounding out the sound?
These are 1st graders.
Okay.
Pretty fun to do.
Yeah?
Let's get used to it.
So how do you decide what you're gonna work on?
I don't know, I just sit around it. I'm bored. It's something I do it for a little bit and it's kind of please.
So do you get a choice of what you want to do, or does the teacher tell you what you need to work on?
And it's pretty fun. I think mostly the things that have come and I have one that I can do.
Can you explain the bag?
So the ones who have everyone, that's what the whole class can do.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones with our names on that's the ones what our teacher is more supposed to do.
What you're supposed to be working on? Okay. Is digraphs one that everyone can do, or is that one that you need to work on?
Or that she put their names on.
So your name is on that because you need to work on digraphs?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, thank you.
So we're building a growth mindset in 1st graders where they understand this is what I need versus what you need. And they can articulate that and they know what to do. Rigor, one of the things we're very careful about is making sure that any material we put in front of a student is of high quality, both the lesson and the material, to make sure it's rigorous and getting them to mastery. The other piece of that is that making sure that they are doing the heavy lifting, that they are doing the thinking, that we are really making them think critically and do problem solving to really expand those skills. And then throughout all of this, and it's I hope that you've seen this in some of the videos I've chosen, are the relationships. We're having small group discussions with teachers, goal setting, and they're celebrating goals. And it's just changing the relationships. Kids are helping each other and becoming more collaborative with their teacher and with their peers.
Ollie, it's something over here about halfway through level 7. So what you're going to do is you're going to color up to 6, and then we're going to go halfway to 7. So that's going to be like right here, because you're still working on that level, okay? So you're going to color from here to here. Yeah,
They're filling in their data tracker.
That line that tells me it feel for you to gain one whole level? Really, really good. Awesome. Chloe, how do you feel about your progress? You're feeling good? Really, really good too? Good. Go ahead and finish coloring the side here. Awesome. I'm glad y'all are feeling happy about your progress. Okay, next.
And I'll walk into rooms and they can't wait to show me, look what I did. I started there and I started there. And, you know, don't worry about this 0 because look at all these that I've mastered already and I can get there on those. So it's really growing them into lifelong learners, which I'm excited about. And finally, if you walk into a classroom, if you walk into the classroom, what's really amazing is to see all these things happening at one time. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through this a little bit. This is a group of first graders, and I want you to notice how well-oiled they are. We have a reading center where they're doing some independent reading. The teacher's working with a small group of students in the back of the room on what exactly those 3 students need. Then you have a table where they're working on their specific skills, activities that were specifically assigned to those kids based on what skills they needed to work on. The group on the floor down there is working on Lexia, our adaptive software that I told you about. The group against the board is doing authentic writing. They're writing a story about something, and they've got different scaffolds. And then finally, the ones standing at the small dry erase board is working on word work. They're working on building and constructing and deconstructing words. And I can tell you that they run very smoothly. And I was in one classroom and the teacher said, okay, it's time to change stations. And in less than 2 minutes, it was less than 2 minutes from the time learning stopped to when it started again. That's how smoothly these kids have embraced the process and know what they need to do and what's required of them. Next year will be year 3. We're going to expand into grades 2, 8, 10, and 11. Followed the following year by kinder, 5th, and 12th in reading. At that point, we will be throughout all the reading classes, and we will be reaching into other contents. And we have already started to work with other contents. I already have other teachers, other grade levels, and other contents who are saying, hey, I want to try some of these things too. Can you help me? And so we're already doing some of these things with them as well. Are there any questions?
I remember when you first shared with us about the blended learning. At that time, it wasn't offered in Spanish. I'm just curious if
so we are tracking it in Spanish. We've worked on 2 different data trackers. So their data trackers are in Spanish. They decided they were going to track iStation. They decided that what they want to do is they rotate every day. They do iStation one day, which is Spanish, and then Lexia one day, which is English. So when you look at the Lexia data, that they're included in that data. I just don't have the iStation data because, again, their data is a little bit harder to pull. It reports it a little bit differently. But they are doing it, and they are running the stations, and they are fully up and running now.
Okay, it's great to hear.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pretty cool.
It is.
Real cool.
It really is, and it's really impressive when you go into a classroom to just
See, that first grade class, I mean, they were just all engaged, everyone.
And they can tell you when you ask them, what are you working on? You know, the little one saying diagraphs. I mean, I wouldn't have even.
First grade.
Yeah.
and writing a story, you know.
Yeah, and what's great is like when they're writing the story, you've got one that just has lines on it, and she had nothing. And I said, well, why is your paper's blank? Like, where did you come up? I got to write about anything I wanted to. So I drew a picture of the carnival, and she was writing her story where somebody else had sentence stems, and they had some prompts to help. So they're able to scaffold those that need it, but really turn loose those high flyers that don't need it and are ready to move on. So we're not holding kids back, and we're not dragging along the ones that aren't ready.
But it was interesting to see that because whether you were at, below, or above, everyone improved, which is good.
Yeah.
Right. And I will tell you that I've got some 4th and 5th graders in elementary who are already ready working on the middle school level. I've got some middle school who have maxed out the middle school. We have not moved them to the high school. That was a strategic plan. We said with those kiddos, let them just enjoy the pleasure of reading. Let them just do some independent reading and things that are of interest to them. So even those that are at grade level are being pushed beyond.
That's good.
That's not a reason to stop.
Yeah. So I will say, just stepping into the district a year ago, blended learning, whenever I heard that, I had a mindset of what it is, and Dr. Wade and Ms. Knight have educated me that It is much different than what I pictured it to be. But I will say that it is impressive to watch. It's impressive to watch our teachers do it, and more impressively is our students and how they do it. It is not desk in a row anymore. It is truly a mind shift, an expectation, students owning what they're trying to do, and it is something different, and it is not a traditional setting, and it's something we're going to have to continue to evolve and look at. And one of the things that the students did say last week in our feedback from students with our instructional model is they want more control over their learning, and this right here really allows them to get that control. But I'll be honest with you, that's tough for some teachers. Sure. And so they're having to learn that too. So kudos to Ms. Knight for leading this. It's an awesome program.
And I'm happy, if you want to visit a classroom, let me know. I'll be happy to take you. I've got teachers that welcome it.
They want to show
They're ready. They're like, come on, anytime you want to come,
and the
come
kids
on.
know it too. The adults walk in, the kids just keep on working.
Yep. Yeah. But
So
yeah,
you notice something, the teachers, that's working pretty smooth. I mean, with the teachers doing this, even some of the older teachers that are classroom, the old style classroom, and they've adjusted pretty well with that.
Well,
It's
what
working
we've
pretty
done is
smooth.
we work, one of the trainings that we put them through is, it's called Discovery Driven Planning. So we actually record in their classrooms, and then they reflect on their practices, and they say what worked, what didn't, what do you want to try next. And so we try to keep them very much involved in the process, so we're not saying you need to do this, but them coming to that realization and us just helping them along the way.
So they're learning too, like the kids
Absolutely.
are.
Definitely they're learning. They are definitely learning.
Pretty interesting.
So I give kudos to our teachers because they've done a phenomenal job.
Oh, yeah. So we see the numbers this way, Dr.
Yeah.
Wade.
Yes, and they're great reports.
We're learning that still.
Thank y'all.
Ms. Knight, thank you so much for the good report. All right, Floresville Middle School HVAC project update, Mr. Schroller.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about why it's important to keep these kids and students comfortable in the classroom to maximize teaching and learning. Good evening, Board President, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent of Schools. Tonight I will be presenting a detailed update regarding the HVAC and controls upgrades at Floresville Middle School, and then Mr. Kyler, representing KC Engineering, whom we've consulted with, will be sharing with you the scope of work and timeline for a similar project that's going to be conducted at South Elementary. The why behind it. As some of you may know, we have had HVAC issues for a while in the district. There has been a need for HVAC repair because of the age and condition of the equipment. Some of you are familiar with R22 refrigerant, Freon. That has been phased out, and that's what runs our middle school chillers. Therefore, replacement parts are getting harder to come by. Kyler Chandler Associates was founded in 2007. Mr. Kevin Kyler and Mr. Michael Kyler are here tonight representing KC Engineers, and sitting by them is our Director of Maintenance, Mr. Michael Gonzalez, who's been an integral part of moving this project forward. KCA has either designed, completed 800 plus K through 12 construction renovation projects on time and under budget. Recently with some local districts that you may know, Northside ISD, SA ISD, Judson ISD, and Alamo Community Colleges District. TD Industries was the awarded contractor. Recently, they completed some construction work at the Dallas College Construction Services Building. They have over 75 years of experience in this trade. The government provided 100% financial support for school districts through the ESSER program using COVID relief funds for facility upgrades, renovation, and construction. $0 for this project comes from our local funds. In regards to the authorized use of funds, FISD submitted the approved application with the goal of improving air quality and ventilation throughout the entirety of the middle school campus. This slide just shows the timeline for this project. Due to supply chain issues, we had to extend the substantial completion date from January 31st to March 20th. Even though we've had to extend the substantial completion date, TD Industries has been able to continue providing airflow and comfortable air temperatures throughout the campus by using its existing HVAC equipment, preventative maintenance by our maintenance director, and we had to purchase a few portable ACs. Mr. Gonzalez and myself, along with our consultants, meet weekly with TD Industries to ensure the substantial completion date of March 20th is gonna be met. What that substantial completion date is, 85% or more of the work has been completed. So just so you know that. Again, shipping delays and critical equipment such as equipment control boards, variable frequency drives, and air ionizers arrive late. We do have an engineer on site periodically to inspect work in progress. By meeting these 4 primary objectives that you see on the screen, this ensures that Floresville Middle School will have proper air distribution and ventilation, as well as meet recommended indoor air quality standards such as humidity levels, temperature control, CO2 control, proper air balance, and particulate matter to keep our kids healthy. Improving energy efficiency is the first of 4 project objectives. By installing the variable frequency drives, Floresville Middle School will be able to fully adjust the air handler motor speed based on demand, which will result in energy savings by reducing power consumption when not required. Also, there will be less wear and tear on our HVAC equipment. The installation of the outside airflow measuring stations allows us to control indoor air quality by measuring CO2 and humidity levels. Increasing operation reliability is the second of the 4 priorities. Prior to this project, there was no existing air to the MDF rooms. That's the data networking rooms that Mr. Urbanzik, our technology director, wants to make sure that we extend the lifespan of our instructional technology. So what we did is we put in a portable AC for a little while. But this new conditioned air will increase the lifespan of the equipment. The new building automation system will lead to quicker and more accurate HVAC troubleshooting capabilities, and the installation of the water softener will help keep water soft to prevent buildup, which can create clogging of valves and our equipment. Looking at this slide from left to right, the first 2 pictures consist of a before and after screenshot of the installation of one of the 5 single zone mini split systems in the middle school data network room. The third picture is an example of what our maintenance director would see on his computer screen when troubleshooting remotely from his laptop. One example of troubleshooting would be to verify zone temperatures of a hallway or our classrooms to make sure it is within range of the desired set point. Another example would be to verify that all motors and valves are operating correctly. Often, Mr. Gonzalez can make adjustments remotely, which keeps his technicians focused on other tasks such as preventative maintenance. The water softener helps keep our lines from becoming clogged. Enhancing occupant comfort is the third of the 4 project priorities. TD Industries is currently installing 122 campus thermostats. These 122 campus thermostats can be found in all individual teacher classrooms, hallways, gym, library, cafeteria, common areas, etc. Replacement of the hot and cold control water valves and actuators will directly control space temperatures. And testing and balancing of the 27 air handling units will ensure that the proper amount of airflow is being delivered into all indoor areas campus-wide at the middle school. What you're looking at here is a before and after picture of a control valve and an actuator. These are your control valves. You can notice the rust. Middle school was built in 2002. This has not been changed out. This is the old actuator. This is the new actuator. This is the new valve and piping. The actuator allows either chilled or hot water into the coil for cooling and or heating. And again, I just wanted to show you this because I'm willing to bet, I know these have never been replaced. They're 20 years old. The pictures on this screen is a before and after picture of our room space thermostats. The new thermostats are digital and we can have a regulated setting of the set point. Currently, we allow for a +2, -2 adjustment for each classroom with it set at 68 for cooling and I think 72 or 73 for heating. And so this gives the teachers some flexibility for their individual classrooms for control of temperature. Improving indoor air quality is the fourth project priority. Cleaning of all 27 air handling units has allowed for better airflow and cleaner air inside the middle school. The installation of ionizers will remove particulates from the airstream duct in the air handling units. Replacing the HVAC water chemical treatment system prevents algae from growing, prevents rust and other particulates that can cause damage to the HVAC system. This is an example of a dirty coil versus a clean coil. TD Industries cleaned all 54 coils. These coils allow effective cooling and heating to spaces. A typical coil, what you're looking at here, weighs anywhere between 700 and 800 pounds. So therefore, it's a lengthy process. They had to remove every one of them, steam clean them, and reinstall all 54 coils. Notice the damper to the left of the screen. Obviously it's dirty and it's missing a louver here. This is a louver, this is a louver, so forth. This is important because without that louver, you can't have an airtight seal, meaning outside air is still coming in. The damper to the right has been cleaned and has all of the louvers. Finally, board, this is a project that's been needed for many years. Some of you may have been on the board when we had the TASB long range facility assessment conducted, and basically they said it is imminent that we do something, and so that's what we're doing. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kyler. If you would come up and take the podium, and I'd like for you to share just a quick report of the scope and work and timeline for Floresville South Elementary. All right, here we go. Does this work? This will move forward, and if you go too fast, go back there.
Very well. Thank you, board. Thank you for donating your time to this fine effort in the public school. I sent 4 kids to the public school system. If it were up to me, I'd double your pay. Except for you, Mr. Gilson. I'm Kevin Kyler. I'm an engineer, worked in San Antonio since graduating from UT in '83. I love what I do, and I love kids. I really do love kids. I lost one at the age of 13. So when I look at your kids, I see something special because they're not a guarantee. So anyways, thank you for what you do and keep doing it. And I love your presentation. That's great stuff. All right, so in working with Mr. Strong, by the way, thank you for hiring us to do the work here. We're thrilled to be a part of what the district is doing with air conditioning. I'm sorry they rot. I really am. It's just, it is what it is. All right, at the South Elementary School, much of what you heard Mr. Schroller talk about applies exactly here, so we're not going to go back over that. This is actually a very short presentation despite my introduction. So we went out to South Elementary School, looked at the air conditioning equipment. It's differently configured. It's a lot like your home unit. You got one unit outside, you got one unit inside, serves a bunch of rooms. That's exactly what you got at South. So you got 27 of those scattered out throughout the building, and they're all outside the building. You've seen it. And so there are 22 units as well. So we went through there, we established a budget and decided, we needed to give the district the most bang for the buck. Ventilation being at the top of the list, and operational reliability to maintain good temperature and humidities and to preserve the equipment. To that end, what we found out that the controls are Mr. Gonzalez's eyes and ears to troubleshooting, both predictive and reactive. So control systems are hugely critical in today's K-12 environment. So control people don't like doing anything but controls, and they barely get that done because they're so busy, because they're high in demand. So we broke out the contract, so we get just a control contractor who's going to do all the controls throughout South Elementary. All the thermostats on the wall, so Mr. Gonzalez has eyes and ears inside and out. So if there's trouble brewing, he can look at the air conditioning unit, see what temperature it's putting out to the space, and so on and so forth. So that's going to be contract number 1. We're also going to balance the system to make sure you're getting all the outside air that you deserve, that you need. COVID brought in a whole new scrutiny on our outside air ventilation and filtration and conditioning system, so all that's going to be part of this control project. That's the most important one. Now, there's 27 units that are A's that are R22 that need to go. You're going to need millions of dollars to do that. Not a lot of millions, but more than what we've got here. So what we did is we got Mr. Gonzalez and said, give us your 5 worst. What are your biggest headaches? So he gave those to us. We're going to replace those so we kind of see what it's like, okay? See how much it costs. So we've got those, and so contract number 2 will be to replace 5 of those 27 units. Any questions on this? I mean, if you think of any later, that's fine. All right. We have a timeline. It's the same for both of these projects. So right now, Mike and I are working on the drawings. They're going to be finished early next week. But we're going to advertise this coming weekend that those drawings will be available to contractors early next week. So they'll have 3 weeks to look at it. They'll come down here and visit. We'll walk them through it. And we'll woo them to the table and bring the bidders to the table. And then this thing bids on April the 5th. And then we'll give them a notice of award of the next, and we're going to get after it. So they'll start ordering equipment after we look at the submittals and supply chain issues. God forbid, then the equipment will come in and we'll get after it this summer. Substantial completion. We need to get the contractors out of the building, out of the classroom. So they're going to do that first. Because I can stick them in mechanical rooms all day long with or without kids. So I can sneak up in there and do their work. So we're going to finish all the classroom controllers by July 29th, and then anything that's after that, well, they'll finish shortly after that. But you'll have air conditioning by the end of that time period. The air conditioning units are following the same timeline and the completion of drawings and bid date and all that. Only thing, and we'll start construction as soon as we can in May, as soon as we get a chance there. We got to wait for the units to come in. I don't know. I mean, they may be 12 weeks, they may be 16. I mean, we've got to, we told them. But when they get here. So I was too chicken to put up some completion date on this. So that's
we'll
okay.
order them as.
Oh yeah, they'll be ordered fast. So it just is what it is. They're coming from Timbuktu. Okay, that's it. Sorry, I went too long. If you have any questions.
Any questions, board, Mr. Gilstrap?
Can you go back to the slide about the age of the equipment? So it says that 27 units, so we're replacing 5 of them. It says some of them are older than 25 years. How many are older than 25 years?
I don't know.
More than 5?
They're all put in at the same time. So
all 27 of them are 25 plus.
Yeah,
I will say we've replaced some of them.
There's a handful, about 4 units have been replaced. They're not existing from when they first built, but the remainder are all original.
I have the actual data on the age of all of them. Know that campus was built in 1996, so that kind of gives you an era there.
Wow. Yep. And again, these would not be local dollars. We would utilize ESSER funds once again to fund this project.
Any further questions, board?
Thank you, sir.
Very technical. Thank you.
Very much needed.
We need to leave. No, you don't have to, but you're welcome to if you want to step out.
At this time, the board will convene an executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 personnel and 551.071 attorney consultation in regards to agenda item 51, excuse me, 5I. Oh, 5I, I'm sorry. 5I at 7:28. No voting will take place in the closed session. And the action the board wishes to take as a result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. All right, executive session is ended at 8:03. We'll start with the open session at 8:03. And we will go to action item 5I. Consider approval of possible redistricting of the trustee single-member districts resulting from the 2020 census. Mr. Stoller?
Yes, sir. All right. Good evening, all. First off, I would like to begin by saying thank you to all for recommending the community member from your single elect district to be a part of the redistrict advisory committee. Also to the 7 committee members that participated. Mr. Bradley, thank you for being here tonight. Floresville ISD thanks you for attending and representing your district and our community. We had 100% attendance with good discussion. So thank you, board. Thank you, Mr. Bradley, and the other community members that y'all recommended for the Redistricting Advisory Committee. Redistricting is the process that occurs every 10 years in which school districts will review and potentially withdraw the boundary lines of its single-member districts. A redistrict advisory committee is formed. The committee with our district's attorney and a demographer to evaluate and propose adjustments to the current single-member district boundaries that represent Floresville ISD geographically and demographically. Tonight, I have Rob Decker with Walsh Gallegos to discuss the plan for the board's consideration and answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Decker.
And as you all know, and as you don't recognize me, I am Jameson's stand-in for the evening. Jameson is not feeling well, so I am going to take it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through real quick a little bit of the background of why we did it. The board did it on the front side, but for everybody else to understand why we're here. So, as Mr. Schroller already said, why are we even doing this? Well, because we got the census. If any of y'all remember getting to do it, we had a very poor census because it was right in the middle of COVID. But nonetheless, we did go through the process, and we were much later on it this year. The census was 2020, and we're in 2022. So we're already 2 years into the new set, which is not the normal. So we're a little bit behind on that. So this is what you're currently looking like with the 2020 census block. So this is what the current voting setup was for all the single member districts. And this is going to give you a little bit of closer view on some of these. And the board members, and there's a couple extra copies if anybody's really curious, has these maps because we sometimes go back and forth when we're looking at it. So what did we have to do? Well, we look at the numbers. So in 2010, when we had the map drawn as it was, you can see that the total column in the middle on the top is what we're really looking at. And what we have to do is we have to try to get all of our single member districts so that they're within 10% of one another. And so back in 2010, our differential was 6.4. So the biggest district had 3,209 people in 4 and 3,015 in 2. Great, we're within the number. So what happens when 2020 is we take those exact same lines and we say, okay, well, let's go see what the population is. And so when we put in our population, uh-oh, we got a problem. We don't have single member districts that are within 10% of each other. Totally expected. It's the same answer for everybody everywhere. In 10 years, a lot of people move. And when they move, it throws off our numbers because they don't move evenly. So you can see if we would have kept the lines exactly as they were from 2010, but we plug in who's actually living in those zones, we now have single member district number 4 at 4,575, and then the smallest one is 1 with 3,021. We're at a 51% differential. That doesn't work. We had to redistrict. That information had already been presented to the board at a meeting a while ago. They knew that. The board made the decision of, hey, we're going to appoint a RAC, a redistricting advisory committee, who then met with the demographers and said, all right, let's figure out how we're going to move these lines so we can get ourselves back into 10%. So this is what they came up with. This is the new map, and so you can understand it. You see that there are dark lines, and then you also see that there are just the numbers and the colors. Well, the numbers and the colors are what it is going to look like now, and 4 is the easiest one to explain how it's really different. So in single member district number 4, what you see is on the top part of it, that little wedge on the top, that used to be part of 4. It is now not part of 4. It is now going to be part of 7. That's why the coloring is that way. That dark line that runs in the middle of 7, that is why, that's just showing you where that change is. So the demographers do all this through their system. They just get all the numbers, they plug it all in, and then they come up with the lines that are going to be there. And so part of what we're going to, again, here's a closer view of the downtown area, which is where it gets a little tighter that we have to look at it. District 3, obviously being the smallest, but why? Because it has the highest population density in that. That's why it's not about size of the area, it's about how many people are in that. So that's why you have 7, which is really, really large, physically. 3, which is really small, but when you look at the populations, it's going to be within that 10%. there were changes because of the way it happened. Almost every single district did have to have a little bit of a change, because when you took some from one side of it, you had to give it somewhere else to another side to get the numbers to even out, because you couldn't just cut off, you know, I had too many in this one and I'm going to give them all over to that one, because we have to keep contiguous lines. And so what that caused is everybody had a little bit of a shift. I think 7 is one of the interesting ones, because it gained and lost right at the same time. Well, why do you do that? Well, because the demographers are trying to come up with the numbers to get it to the right place. And so, yes, on one side of it, you're going to gain a whole bunch, but then you had to lose a little bit on the other side, because we needed that other district to actually get some more population. And so that's why you just kind of shifted around. So, where were we trying to get to? Again, the 10% was the number we were trying to get to. And so these are the numbers that are going to come out of the redistricting plan. With the lines as they're drawn, you can see what we were shooting for is a 3,463. That's in the red box there. That's the number you were trying to get to. That's the middle of the road number. And so we had to try to get all of them there. And so the highest population now is going to be in 5. We've taken so much out of 4 that 4 is no longer the big kid. So now 5 is the big kid in the population number, but it's 3,611, and then the smallest is 3, which is 3,353. That's within that differential is 7.7, and the demographers do all the numbers. If you know any attorneys, we don't like numbers, so it's not my numbers, it's the demographer's numbers. But that gets us in under the 10%. That's what the Texas Education Code requires us to be within the 10% deviation. Again, big picture, why are we doing this? Because the whole standard of voting in the United States is one person, one vote. And if you have one single member district that has 15,000 people and another one that has 3,000 people, if I'm in the 3,000 person area, my vote counts for a whole lot more than somebody who's in the 15,000. So we need to get the numbers within the same thing. The other piece that we look at when we're doing this is as a secondary consideration, and the reason we do this is because we had a lawsuit that said we needed to go into single member districts. And why is that? Because there was concerns that a minority population was not getting an equal vote. It's not, I don't want anybody to have any thought that Floresville was the bad kid and you were the only ones who did it. In fact, there is an entire swath on the south side of San Antonio that every single district at the same time had gotten sued, and all of them agreed, and it is through an agreement, that they did these single member districts. It's just what was happening back in the late 90s is when most of them were put into place. So what do we also look at? You see the second set of numbers that I haven't talked about yet, and that's the voting age population, and that's part of what we want to look at too. And if you look at the bottom rows here, generally what we're looking at is going to be the Anglo versus the Hispanic. And we want to make sure that we have a sufficient number of majority-minority groupings as we used to. So back in 2010, when we had it, I have cheats on my sheet, and I'm going to look real quick. We had 4 minority majorities, and that was in 2, 3, 5, and 6. And then we had 3 Anglo majorities, which were 1, 4, and 7. Okay, but the important piece is how many minority majorities did you have? So we had 4. So then when we move it fast forward into our chart of this go around, what are we looking at? Well, now when we're looking at it, in fact, when you look at the voting age population for it on here, on that chart, you can see that 2, 3, 5, 6 are all minority majority population. That's kind of the goal, right? Ultimately, we would need to make sure we didn't lose how many of those minority majorities that we had. So we still have a good amount of the minority majority voting blocks, which is for the groups who would come back and say you did the redistricting wrong, you were gerrymandering, they wouldn't have much of a ground to be able to say that when we have not denuded that minority ability to elect single member districts. So, with that said, this is the plan that was being brought forward by the RAC committee. They did a lot of work and a lot of efforts in talking with the demographers and making sure we were still in a good place. And this is the recommendation that they're making to the board for redistricting for the next 10 years, or 8, as it really is at the end of the day. But 9 probably, because we would get done normally a year earlier than we did on this one. Are there any questions from any of the board members?
Roughly about a 3,000 population increase over 10 years. Looking at those total numbers, I think it was 21,000 something in 2010, 24,000 plus in 2020. So obviously that's what's causing our need to revisit this.
And in fairness, that number is probably way below what the reality of the numbers this go around should have been. So what the board will do, and I apologize, I had another snafu. I thought I had brought you the resolution. I have the resolution right, but still has the watermark on it. So there's a resolution that you're going to approve that literally just lays out that you're accepting the RAC committee's map, and we'll attach the map that look just like that. You'll just approve that tonight. Just put it in your records. We don't have to submit to the Department of Justice as we have had to in prior years because the Department of Justice isn't doing it anymore. So you're really done after we make that again, you'll pass the motion and pass the resolution tonight, and then you're done.
And then you'll get us
I will get you a clear one. If not behind my back, get the watermark off, I will do it before the morning.
All right. Do we have a motion then to accept this resolution of the redistricting? Okay.
Move that we accept the
Okay.
redistricting resolution as presented.
All right.
Second.
Mr. Shadrock. Okay, any further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Becker, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank Jameson. He did most of the work.
Thank you to our RAC committee members.
Yes, thank you.
Serving your community.
Appreciate it. He's heading out with me.
Okay, agenda item 5G, consider approval of administrative personnel contracts, directors, principals, and assistant principals. Ms. Standish?
All right, good evening, Dr. Odom, board, and Mr. Gilstrap. And so as you were presented in closed session, the proposed personnel list of contract employment, each supervisor submitted their letter recommending to you principals, assistant principals, and directors, their contracts for the 22-23 school year. Were there any questions on any of those recommendations or contracts? So, administration recommends that board accept the administrative personnel contracts for directors, principals, and assistant principals as presented.
I make the motion to accept the recommendation. Do we have a second? Okay, Ms. Berlinga. Any other further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, let me know by raising your hand.
I abstain.
Okay, Ms. Reed abstains, so it's 6 and one abstains. Okay.
For H as well.
You stay right there, and we'll do agenda item 5H, consider approval of new contract employment.
So I'm also presenting 2 probationary educator contracts for mid-year replacements for there are 2 teachers at South Elementary that we've been able to secure. One was a paraprofessional on the campus from the beginning of the year, and the other has been a long-term sub for the majority of the school year. And one passed their test, and one enrolled in a teacher certification program, so good. But they've been on the campus for most of those school years, so we are happy to recommend to the board that they accept the probationary educator contracts being offered midterm as a result of filling classrooms that have been staffed with long-term subs since the beginning of the year.
So these 2 have been employed, they've been covering the classes in other roles, but now they are certified through SBEC, and so we're excited to get them on board.
Does your pay go up?
Yes, they'll go to teacher pay for the remainder of this year.
We have a motion to accept the recommendation.
Make a motion.
Okay, Ms.
I
Berlingen?
second it.
And Ms. Reed seconds it. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, let me know by raising your hand. Anyone opposed? 7-0. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to agenda item 5A, the consent agenda. And we will then vote on this, and we have a motion to accept the consent agenda and all the items listed under that.
Mr. President, I move to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, and do I have a second? Mr. Svoboda, and a second. Mr. Fleer, all right. Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda?
One thing I would like to point out, we do have a donation this month for this board meeting, so it's $1,000 from Floresville North Elementary PTA. If you notice, there's a sign out there in the back entrance, Floresville North Elementary. Really nice. The district was able to get that done, but PTA has stepped up and wanted to reimburse us for that. So that's what that donation is for. So thank you to them. Yes. Thank you.
Any questions? With the motion, yeah, with the motion and the second, already, you can vote. All in favor? Okay. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-2. All right. The agenda item 5B, consider approval of the District of Innovation DOI plan. Dr. Wade.
Good evening, President Odom, Mr. Gilstrap, and Board of Trustees. This evening, I'm going to be presenting our proposed 2022-2027 District of Innovation Plan for Floresville ISD. No different for tonight.
Darn.
So to recap the information I shared with you last month, in 2015, the Texas legislature passed House Bill 1842, which allowed school districts to have some of the same flexibilities as charter schools if they put in place an innovation plan as outlined in Texas Education Code Chapter 12A. Floresville's current DOI plan expires at the end of this school year, and so our renewal committee was formed back in October. They met in November and December, and then the DOI plan was presented to our District Education Improvement Committee on January the 25th, and they voted to present this to the board for consideration. Last month at your meeting, the board approved the notification to Texas Education Agency that you intended to vote on our District of Innovation plan tonight. Our proposed plan includes 13 innovations. 5 of our current innovations are also included in the plan for the next 5 years, and I put them asterisk so you can kind of see them in a little different color what we currently have. Last month, I also shared that our innovation committee looked at innovation plans from a variety of other districts and got some ideas from additional innovations, which is why you see there are 8 more. Included in your board packet is the draft DOI plan, which has been posted on our website for the last 30 days. That includes the timeline as well as the staff involved in this process. So, without further ado, I'm trying to stay on the speed limit. Here are the proposed innovations for the 2022-2027 school year. The first innovation is in relation to teacher contracts. Currently, we must offer 1-year probationary contracts to any educator who's been employed by a school for 5 of the last 8 years. Our proposed innovation is to offer a probationary contract each year for the first 2 years for these staff members. The rationale is that restricting the probationary period to just 1 year limits the time period for us to fully evaluate the staff member's effectiveness and provide opportunities for growth as needed. The next innovation is teacher certification. Teacher employment is limited to those with teacher certification, and the district must notify parents of any non-certified staff that are in a classroom for more than 30 consecutive days. FISD's plan is to continue to seek traditionally certified candidates for all of our teaching positions. However, flexibility is needed for those hard-to-fill positions, primarily in CTE, such as welding, auto mechanics, health science, to name a few. The district's proposal is to allow a local qualification process for these hard-to-fill areas and allow other credentials to be considered. So for example, in health science, you might not have a teaching certificate or a degree, but you might have a certificate from some other non-recognized school. Please note that the district cannot exempt ourselves from bilingual and special education certifications, which are required for teachers in those areas. So if staff are hired as based on some non-traditional qualifications, they would be considered at-will employees, not on a teacher contract, not having all of the stipends that might be associated with that, and state and parent notification would not be submitted. The rationale for this innovation is that flexibility is needed to hire the most qualified staff that is available for certain courses, primarily for CTE, but maybe for some non-core, and the district may establish some procedures and timelines for those teachers to obtain certification as needed. The next innovation is about mentors and mentor training. Currently, mentors are required to receive training through an authorized approved program at the Texas Education Agency, and they must have 3 years of experience. Our proposed innovation is to allow the district to develop our own mentor training program for teachers that have at least 1 year of experience. The rationale is that we need more trained mentors for our new teachers, and the approved training programs have not been available the last several years. In addition, there are some exceptions for teachers that have had previous experiences or exceptional skill that might make them a good fit as a mentor, but they only have 1 year of experience. Staff development is the next innovation. The current requirement is that staff development is predominantly campus-based. While campuses will continue to have flexibility in meeting the specific training needs of their campuses, we have a need to train all staff on a variety of emerging issues based on our data and our student needs. So the focus areas of the district, as well as our strategic plan, outline training that is needed for all staff, such as social emotional supports and digital skills. The school calendar is an innovation that is in our current plan. The state requirement is that districts cannot begin school before the 4th Monday in August. Our proposal is to allow the school to begin earlier than the 4th Monday based on collaborative input from stakeholders, including parents and staff. A calendar committee and the District Education Improvement Committee annually reviews proposed calendars, and those are shared with staff, all staff, for input. This flexibility allows school starting to help us balance semesters and to ease the transition of beginning school for students returning after summer break, possibly on a shortened work week, for example, starting on a Wednesday as opposed to a Monday. The next innovation is the minimum attendance for credit, or what we call the 90% rule. Currently, students must be in attendance for a minimum of 90% of the school days to receive credit. Our proposal is to allow campus-based committees to award credit for students who show mastery of the content and have documentation supporting extenuating circumstances regarding absences less than 75% of days, and who meet the requirements outlined by those committees to receive credit. Please note, UIL rules for compulsory attendance will still be required. We can't exempt ourselves from UIL rules. This flexibility is needed for exceptions, not the rule. For some students who may be able to show mastery without 90% attendance, and primarily would be for students who have a long-term condition that would prohibit them being in class face-to-face. Class size is the next innovation that is in our current plan. State law requires the maximum class size for kindergarten through 4th grade to be 22 students, and exceeding that cap requires a waiver from the Texas Education Agency. Our first attempt will be to keep all pre-K through 4th grade classrooms at that ratio of 22:1. However, our proposal is to allow a teacher ratio of a cap of 24:1, which provides some flexibility in keeping students in neighborhood campuses. This flexibility will assist the district in determining the timing of any additional staff that's needed and account for fluctuations in enrollment without having to move campuses from one to the other. So if we had over 22 students at all the campuses, all the classrooms in South, and had less at North, then one of the things that could be done, and I was part of this at another district, okay, we need to move these students over here to level out, and that's just not what's best for kids. The next innovation is campus behavior coordinator, which was also included in our current plan. State law currently stipulates that a person at each campus be designated as the campus behavior coordinator. Our proposal is to allow for a collaborative approach in which the schools support both the behavior and the social emotional needs of students through a variety of staff members on the campus. The rationale is not practical or even reasonable to expect a campus of over 1,000 students to have one person in charge of behavior. The next innovation is school district depositories, which is also in our current plan. Currently, districts are required to bid depository banking services at a minimum of every 6 years. Due to the limited number of financial institutions that are able to meet our needs, our proposal is to review banking services every 2 years and bid for services as needed. The next innovation is inter-district transfers. Currently, the state requires that students' transfers be accepted for an entire school year. Our proposal is an innovation to allow transfers to be revoked during the year due to excessive absences or excessive discipline. The rationale is that we expect students to follow our procedures and policies, and transfer students who do not follow those guidelines place an unnecessary burden on our staff. The next innovation is the School Health Advisory Council, or what we call as SHAC. Currently, state law requires a variety of responsibilities be assigned to the SHAC. These requirements include such things as food service and curriculum for school health. Our proposal is to involve appropriate representatives on our existing committees which review curriculum and which look at food service and budgets to address all the responsibilities of SHAC. The rationale is our flexibility with our collaborative structures to meet those responsibilities without having more committees and more meetings. And then the final innovation we're proposing is related to planning and decision making. The state has a compliance-driven plan for both campuses and districts with required components. I'll just give you an example. One of the requirements is that in our district improvement plan, I must post the peace officer job description. FISD's proposal is to use a collaborative process with representative stakeholders to annually assess our campus and district needs. We're still going to do a needs assessment. We're still going to have, I know you're excited about this, a district and campus improvement plans, but the development of those will be focused not on compliance pieces, but on the mission, vision, and goals of the district. There are portions of the plan that have federal requirements, and we cannot exempt ourselves from those pieces. The compliance nature of the Texas Education Code's decision-making plans are not focused on the needs of our community. The required components make our plans cumbersome and somewhat lengthy, rather than workable guides for actionable plans and goals. And wouldn't the board like to see me have less items on the agenda for the district? Sorry. So those are the innovations that we are proposing. You have had them for at least over a month. The next steps, if the board approves the innovation plan, is to submit our plan to TEA within the next 15 days. TEA does not approve the plan, only the board approves the plan. I've already gotten feedback from TEA on the plan and made a few little adjustments based on their feedback, and then to post it on our website. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I know that
So
was a lot.
one question that did come up that we did have to clarify is, when does this plan go into place?
So we are specified in the plan, that was feedback from TA, so we are specifying our fiscal year to be the year that we implement, so that would be July 1st of 2022, in effect through June 30th of 2027.
So there was an option to approve it like tonight and start it tomorrow, but then whenever it ends in the middle of March. So it made sense to wait till July 1.
Sure.
And then TA also reminded me we could not exempt ourselves from federal guidelines of bilingual in SPED, so I went back and added explicitly in the plan that we are not exempting ourselves from those. Any questions? Okay, if not, the administration recommends the board approve the 2022-2027 District of Innovation Plan as presented.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation?
Mr. President, I move to accept the administration recommendation.
Okay.
I second.
Ms. Fuda and Ms. Reed will second it. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wade. Appreciate it. All right, action item C, consider approval of discipline alternative education program, interlocal agreements for the 2022-2023 school year for Karnes City ISD, Fall City ISD, Stockdale ISD, and Southside ISD.
Good evening, Dr. Odom, Board of Trustees, Mr. Gilstrap. This evening, I bring to you the remaining disciplinary alternative education interlocal agreements with the remaining 4 districts that we didn't bring you last month. Last month, we brought you Poth and Kennedy that you approved, so these are the remaining 4 for a total of 7 districts, including ourselves. Again, these are the same agreements that we presented for Poth and Kennedy last month. These are just for the other districts. So if there are any questions to any of those? And again, this is it. This is all.
Any questions? All right. Motion to accept.
If not, then administration recommends the board approve the disciplinary alternative education program interlocal agreements as presented.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Perlinga makes the motion to accept. Second. Mr. Shawbrow. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Ms. Engel then will also present action item 5E. Consider approval of interlocal, was it D? I'm sorry, 5D. I got ahead of myself.
That's all right, I got
Dr.
you too.
Wade's,
I got them too, so
Dr.
we
Wade's
can
report
move
was
on.
so short, I got way ahead, I'm sorry. D, consider approval of interlocal cooperation agreement for the Karnes-Wilson County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program for the 2022-2023 school year.
Again, this evening you have our agreement with the Karnes-Wilson County Juvenile Justice Board for our JJAEP services for the 22-23 school year. This school year was the culmination of a 3-year agreement with that group. With talking with the other districts and with the Juvenile Justice Board, we decided to do collaboratively a 1-year agreement this year with the new judges coming in, things like that to kind of look. We needed to get a program in place, but wanted to kind of look. Only do a 1 year so we can reevaluate it again coming up in the next year. So that's what we're bringing to you tonight is a 1-year agreement for the 22-23. It's the exact same agreement as we had operating on the last 3 years. Dollar amounts are the same, everything's the same. But again, this is for the JJAEP side.
I so move.
Or here,
Yes.
if there are no questions, then administration recommends the board approve the Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program interlocal agreement as presented.
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Reed, and then Ms. Perlinga seconds it. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? 7-0. Next, action item 5E, consider approval of interlocal cooperation agreement for shared persons employment with Karnes-Wilson County Juvenile Justice Board.
Again, this agreement is a MOU with Karnes-Wilson County for an employee. The districts, or not the district, but the JJAEP contributes half of the salary or part of the salary, $32,500 towards this teacher that works in the JJAEP area. So the JJ contributes the $32,500 and the Karnes-Wilson County contributes.
So as the fiscal agent for it's not a cooperative, but as the fiscal agent for this JJAEP, the county pitches in half of that teacher's salary, and then the co-op or the agreements between all the districts, we pitch in the other half of that. Now, we technically enter the agreement with them because everybody pays us as the fiscal agent, and then we write a check back to them. So that's what this is, that joint piece.
And this is for next school year. We did this not very long ago for this school year. Normally it's done this time of year. Last year they had new people in the Friendswood, so it was delayed a little bit. But this will be for next school year, for the 22-23 school year.
And nothing has changed over the last few years.
No, it's been
all the same.
$32,500 for years.
Yeah.
We've actually, that's one of the things we want to look at, since we're doing a one-year agreement that y'all just approved. One of the things I want to look at before we go to a 3-year deal is, they're struggling getting that teacher too. They need to evaluate that salary. So we need to get that looked at.
So if there are no questions on that, administration recommends the board approve the interlocal agreement for the shared person's employment as presented.
Mr. President, I move to accept administration's recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Porter?
Second.
All right, Ms. Dominguez seconds it. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, if there are none, all in favor, raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Ms. Engel, you got one more.
I got one more.
One more,
The
Ed.
last one.
I don't know why I'm trying to get you off.
It's okay.
All right, 5F, consider approval of resolution to pay staff during district closure due to inclement weather.
If you were on the board last year, we brought you a similar resolution due to the district being closed that week because of weather. Again, this due to inclement weather, the district was closed on February 3rd and 4th. So this resolution is in accordance with board policy DEA local pay during closure and premium pay during disasters. The resolution's there. If you have any questions on that, again, it's everybody's contract days. It's based on a certain number of contract days. These 2 days, should we not approve this, people would not get paid for those 2 days. So, any questions? If not, then administration recommends the board approve the resolution regarding employee pay during the district closure due to inclement weather, February 3rd and 4th for 2022 as presented.
I make the motion to accept Mr. Clear, seconds. Anyone, any other questions? All in favor, let me know by raising your hand. Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Engel. And now do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion.
And Ms. Belinga quickly
Second,
seconds that.
yes.
Yes. Okay, I think all in favor? Yes, we are all in favor of that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I was the only one.